You're watching Miss Hobbs Teaches Biology, and today we're going to be learning all about the circulatory system. Welcome back to another episode of Miss Hobbs Teaches. My name's Miss Hobbs. I am a Victorian science, STEM, business and agriculture teacher, and all of my videos are Victorian curriculum aligned. Today we are going to be learning all about the circulatory system. Okay, so what is the circulatory system? Well, it is essentially the supplier of nutrients to organs and cells right around your body. And it's made up of a few different components which we are going to talk and learn about today. The circulatory system is how we keep our blood pumping around our body. It's what keeps us alive because we know we need blood to survive, okay? So the circulatory system is really important for our survival. So the circulatory system, it's made up of our heart, our blood vessels, our blood, okay? And what type of muscle are our vessels? Have a think about that. Smooth muscle, fabulous. If you can't remember the muscle types, make sure to check out my other muscle video, which is linked there in the bio. Make sure you've got that one down pat before you come to this, okay? So it's made up of our heart, our blood, and our blood vessels. And it's gonna take oxygen from our lungs, oxygenate our blood, and then it's going to allow us to be transported right across our body. So the circulatory system, it's pretty cool, and its functions are really essential for us to live. Now, the circulatory system doesn't just transport oxygenated blood, it also is a bit of a rubbish collector, and it is able to remove waste products from cells, so such as carbon dioxide or the chemical urea, which you actually excrete. Now, you might have heard of urea before, and you would have heard of it when your dad's putting it on the crops because it's actually a fantastic fertilizer because it's really high in nitrogen, but we don't want urea in our bodies. And that's where our circulatory system can help because that helps to remove that out of there, which is good for us. And the circulatory system, okay, it can remove that carbon dioxide through breathing it out, yeah? So you know how we breathe out carbon dioxide and we breathe in oxygen, okay? That's the circulatory system, which is allowing us to get rid of that carbon dioxide. And then your urea, okay, that nitrogen, how you get rid of that is through your kidneys, and you then are going to pass that out through urine. So that's the circulatory system making all that cool stuff happen. So not only is it transporting oxygenated blood around you and supplying you, it's also a bit of a rubbish collector, which is really good for us. Okay, now another function of our circulatory system is to transport messages around our body. So you know how we talked about those electrical signals going through your nerves, like when you want to contract a muscle or whatnot, that sort of contraction of your muscles, that's through the nerves. But what about when you feel hungry? What is it that tells you that you feel hungry? Or what about if you feel thirsty? What is it? It starts with a H, and it is called hormones. So hormones are what tell us you feel really hungry or thirsty or whatnot. And these hormones are actually transported through our circulatory system, okay? So it's really important. Our circulatory system has those three key functions, okay? First of all, it's going to supply oxygenated blood. Terrific. It's going to allow our cells to work by doing that. Second, it's going to collect any rubbish that we don't want. And third, it is going to transport really important signals, okay, which are transported on these things called hormones throughout our body, which allow us to feel thirsty or to feel hungry and to say, oh, I'm not thirsty anymore, stop that, okay? That's all transported through these really clever things called hormones. Okay, so now that we've talked about those three key functions of our circulatory system, I want us to talk about our main components of our circulatory system. So that's the heart, the blood, and blood vessels. So contrary to popular belief, your heart doesn't actually look anything like this. Your heart has a really, really important role to play, and it's the motor which allows blood to be pumped around your body. Okay, so it pumps continuously, and that's really important to ensure that we constantly have the oxygenated blood traveling around our body. We then have our blood vessels, okay? Now these are made up of that smooth muscle. Now if we think back to smooth muscle and what that looks like, it is involuntary, okay? So that means that you can't control what your smooth muscle does, okay? So your blood vessels are made up of that smooth muscle. Okay, now your blood vessels, they're going to spread out from your heart, and they can be as large and they can be called arteries, okay? So as blood vessels spread out and leave your heart, we call them arteries, okay? And these are quite big. But as they reach individual cells, they shrink, okay? So they start big and then they shrink off. And this is then, they start as arteries and they turn into what we call capillaries, okay? And this helps to reach every single cell in your body. So it's really important. Your whole body needs to be able to access oxygenated blood. When your capillaries, which are really small, okay, they rejoin, they are called veins, okay? And the veins is what returns your blood to your heart. So you can think about it. When your blood is flowing out from your heart, okay, which has oxygen and nutrients in it because it's been through our heart, it's beautiful and red, that's going in what we call arteries. But when it's coming back to your heart, okay, so that's where it has waste and the carbon dioxide, which needs to be excreted out of your body, that's when it comes through in veins. So it goes out as arteries, back through as veins, and then the cycle continues, and then it goes out as an artery and back through the veins. Okay, so we've talked about our heart being, the pump for it all, and then it leading through the blood vessels, which are a bit like the highways, okay? If you've got highways, you need to have cars to drive on the highways, and that's our blood, okay? So our blood is the traffic which is going around this whole system. Now, our blood is made up of two parts, okay? There's a fluid that we call plasma, and there's a solid part, okay, blood cells. Now, if you've ever been to a blood bank or maybe seen somebody donate blood, you might choose to give a whole blood donation, okay, which is this blood combined, or you might just donate plasma, and that's when they spin out, okay, the plasma, which is this clear stuff, right? And then they put back the solid blood cells into you. And plasma can be really useful in hospital settings, and people sometimes need plasma. Now, this plasma, okay, it carries dissolved nutrients and waste, and it also carries hormones. So when we were talking about the circulatory system telling you when you're hungry or when you're thirsty, that's carried in the plasma. So that has a really important function. The oxygen though, that we're talking about, going from the heart, carrying the oxygen to the cells, that's actually carried in our red blood cells. Only a really small amount of oxygen is carried in our plasma. Most of it is carried in our red blood cells. So that's really important that our blood's made up of these two parts. Our plasma carrying nutrients, waste, and hormones, so you can feel hungry or know when to stop eating. And our whole blood, okay, so the red blood cells, those ones are carrying the oxygen. Okay, so let's recap what we have talked about. So our three components of the circulatory system is the heart, the blood vessels, and the blood. Now we're going to talk about these a little bit more in a later video. This is just our introduction to the circulatory system to really get us going and kickstart the circulatory system. So we've got the three components, the heart, blood vessels, and the blood. Now our circulatory system has a really important role in our body. It's really important for us to stay alive. And the three really important things that I want you to remember that the circulatory system does is, number one, it supplies oxygenated blood around, okay? So it takes the oxygen from your lungs and the digested nutrients from your guts, and it puts it into your blood, okay? And then it allows this blood to go around, okay, to all the different cells, and it allows them to do what they need to do because they have oxygen and because they have nutrients. So the first thing that blood does, or your circulatory system does, is it supplies nutrients and oxygen to the organs and the cells of your body. That's its first really important role. Its second really important role is it collects all the rubbish and the waste that we don't want, right? And it does this, okay, through transporting. So it can remove the carbon dioxide, and it can do this through breathing it out through the lungs, right? And then we breathe in the oxygen, which allows our blood to then reoxygenate. Perfect. And it can also do this by transporting waste products as well as nutrients, okay, just like urea, which it's then going to allow to be filtered out through the kidneys and then excreted through your urine, which is really important for us. And the other thing that it's going to do is it is going to allow for signaling around your body, right? And it allows for the transportation of hormones, okay, which are really important because these are the things that are going to tell you if you are thirsty or if you are hungry. So they are the three functions of your circulatory system: to supply oxygen, to collect waste and excrete waste products, and to transport hormones, okay? And it does this through the heart, pumping the oxygenated blood around your bodies, then does this through the blood vessels, which allow for the transportation to and from the heart. And remembering that our blood vessels, as the blood leaves the heart, it leaves through arteries, and as it re-enters the heart, it enters through veins, okay? Arteries to exit, veins to re-enter. And that then we have our blood, which is traveling around this whole system, right? And that's got two parts. It's got a fluid, which we call plasma, and then it's got a solid part, which is made up of blood cells. Now, we'll break this down a little bit more in a later on video, but that's what I want you to know for now, right? And that our fluid part, our plasma, okay, it allows us to transport those nutrients and the waste and the hormones, okay? But the oxygen, that goes in the whole blood, okay, in the blood cell part of it. Thanks for watching this episode of Miss Hobbs Teaches. You should have an introductory knowledge of the circulatory system, knowing its three functions and the three key components that make it up. If this video helped you, make sure to give it a thumbs up. You can comment down below what video you would like next, or if you need a concept clarifying. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button.